Hi guys and welcome to Let's Talk Arsenal. It's always difficult talking about a North London derby, and especially in the situation that Arsenal are in right now and when you've just lost the game. 2-0 to Spurs, and I just thought I wanted to calm down. I wanted to kind of rest my brain a little bit, and Monday mornings after a loss, people are always kind of still fresh and still kind of like their blood's boiling, especially after a London derby, a North London derby. But you know what? I've just been thinking and thinking and thinking, and I need to just I need to express it. Because at the moment, you're scrolling through timelines, you're speaking to people, you're engaging with Arsenal fans, and I feel like it's just so difficult at the moment. I feel like there's no one can actually there's no consensus at all. People talk about the players, people talk about the manager, people talk about Edu, people talk about the Cronkies, there's so much, and the problem is that no one's wrong. No one is wrong, and this is the problem that we have at the moment. No one is wrong. There's so many problems. It's such a layered issue at the moment that it's almost like the person doesn't know where to begin when they're talking about the Arsenal at the moment. It's so difficult to pinpoint the issue that long term is going to actually support, and there's nothing in the club at the moment that you can say, yes, this is going to be the way forward. But what I would say is yesterday's game highlighted for me what I think the issues are. Guys, please tell me what you guys think, because I would love to hear your views as well. Maybe me as a specific fan that sees a certain issue within the club. Maybe I'm blinded by certain issues. I'm not going to be ignorant and I'm not going to be arrogant about it. It's possible. So I would love to hear you guys' views. But what I saw yesterday was I saw a team that kept 70% possession of the ball, and people come out to me and say, yeah, but Mourinho allowed that and Mourinho allowed this and that. I don't believe that for a single second. At the end of the day, when we look at the way that the game panned out, yeah, in hindsight you can say Mourinho allowed it. Mourinho allowed you to have 70% of the ball, but I don't believe that. I want to start off with the starting lineup. What's obvious is that Arteta has moved now officially to a back four. Whenever you see the lineup, you start saying, is this a 3 at the back? Is this a 4 at the back? Because you see Saka there, and previously Saka used to fill in that left wing back position. Tierney would come inside, and it would be a 3 at the back with Gabriel and Holding at right centre back, and then Bellerin moving up to right wing back. But what's obvious now is that that Arteta has transitioned to a 4 at the back. Yeah, we all, as for Arsenal fans, we wanted the 4 at the back. I can't say all actually, because I haven't spoken to every single Arsenal fan, but at least the Arsenal fans that I was speaking to when we lost against, I think it was Man City, and then we lost against Leicester. We started and in Aston Villa, we started calling for a 4 at the back. We wanted 4 at the back. There's no creativity. Bringing in an extra midfielder, you'll be able to create chances, etc., etc., etc. A lot of the Arsenal fans wanted the 4 at the back. I said and you will be able to see it in the last video that we had after the Leeds game, or I think it might have been after the Leeds game. I always said that with our squad, with the makeup of our squad, with the players that we have available, with the qualities that we have, we can't work in a 4 at the back. Arteta, ultimately, I'm speaking from a position of a fan that wants results. Arteta is looking at it as in a position that actually we're in a process. I'm looking to sign players, specific players that are going to be able to fit in a 4-3-3. And even Arteta said, to be able to effectively play the 4-3-3 that Arteta wants, he needs 5 or 6 players. So from the jump, Arteta has straight away said, and by the way, that's starting 11. We're talking about starting 11. We're not talking about squad players. We're talking about starting 11. So 5 or 6 players. That's half of your squad. That's half of your first 11, sorry. Half of your first 11, Arteta has openly said, to be able to effectively play the formation that I want to play, I need to change 5 or 6 players. That's crazy. That's firstly. Secondly, when you look at the makeup of our squad, he's changed to a 4 at the back. That's fine, no problem. I agree, everything is a process, and because I'm sure that people will kind of have their own opinions on Arteta and stuff like that. My opinion is he has to be given time. I think that he has to be given time, and I've said that in previous videos. But when you look at our squad and our starting 11 yesterday, you've got players like Bellerin at right back, Xhaka at centre mid, Lacazette at number 10. I mean, Lacazette can't even do an effective job at number 9 anymore, and that's his natural position. So imagine him now having to do a position having to do a job in a position that we are in desperate need of. It's our biggest problem right now, the number 10. So now we've put Lacazette into that number 10 position. No problem. And by the way, I don't think he was the main issue yesterday. I'm not bashing Lacazette right now. I'm not looking to bash him. I don't think he's good enough for the club. I don't know if he's serious enough. But whatever. Yesterday, it wasn't on him. And then you've got Willian at right wing. So when you look at, and Holding at centre back. So immediately, when you look at our first 11, you've got Bellerin, and this is just my opinions. I might be wrong. I might be right. I would love to hear what you guys think. Bellerin, not good enough for right back. Holding, not good enough for centre back. Xhaka, not good enough for centre mid. Lacazette is not a good enough 10. And Willian is not a good enough right winger. So you've got 5 players there already, immediately, you can say, that are just not good enough. Then, when you go further than that, you've got Partey comes off after 45 minutes, or however long, after 45 minutes, I think it was, injured. So that's your best player. By the way, when he was on the pitch yesterday, he just looked 3 levels above everyone else in our team. Partey gets injured after 45 minutes, and Aubameyang just, I don't know what the situation is with Aubameyang at the moment, because he just does not look interested at all. So you've got there 7 players I've named that are issues within the first 11. And then you look at the rest of them. Tierney, good player. Leno blows hot and cold. Saka, 19-year-old boy. 19 years old. He's 19 years old. We forget that. We think that, oh, Saka, great player. He's still 19 years old, having to play all these games in a congested kind of fixture list. With the national team, with the club, etc., etc. 19 years old now, we want to suddenly put all our hopes on a 19-year-old. And I've always said Saka is not a left winger. I don't blame Arteta for playing him there because there's no one else to play. But Saka isn't a left winger. He doesn't have the explosive pace to be a left winger. For me, Saka is an inside left mid. For the future, maybe not right now. He might not be ready physically right now, but he's a inside left mid or a number 10 for me, because he's the only player in our team that can receive the ball in the half turn. Then you've got Aubameyang is a problem. Partey injured. He's our best player. He's been injured for God knows how long. 5 players there that are just simply not good enough. They don't even deserve to be in the squad. Yeah. Leno blows hot and cold. Gabriel has just come to this league. So your whole starting 11 is kind of up and down. There's some issues there. Gabriel, I have no issue with him. I think he's going to be an absolutely incredible centre-back. He's got all the fundamentals there to be an incredible centre-back. But at the same time, it's his first season. When we're talking about people like Pepe and all of these players, we always say, oh, give them a year to adapt. But we don't have the same energy for Gabriel. He might have already adapted because he's so good. But at the same time, he deserves that time to be able to embed himself and actually kind of like cement his position and kind of adapt to the league and understand what is required of him at a club like Arsenal. But we haven't been able to give him that time because we've kind of like straight away gone into a situation where our squad just isn't good enough, and the player that will protect him the most has been injured for half the season. So when we're talking about our 11 yesterday, we had 11 players already that you could name an issue with every single one of them. And then we wonder why we're 14th, 15th in the league. Because then as a consensus around all the Arsenal fans, did we have a good enough bench yesterday? We had Nketiah on the bench. I'm not bashing Nketiah. I hope to God, because he's a very good, like, in terms of he's a passionate Arsenal fan, and he came up from the youth and all of that kind of stuff. Hail End boy and all of that kind of thing. You would hope that he makes up the Gunners, but will he? I don't know. Is he even a good enough bench option? I don't know. And you look at the rest of the options. El Neni. I'm sorry, El Neni is better than Xhaka, but El Neni is also not good enough. Whether we like it or not, El Neni is not good enough. Who else did you have on the bench yesterday? Maitland-Niles. I agree Maitland-Niles should be starting, but Maitland-Niles should be starting off the last few performances. But his whole Arsenal career, you wouldn't say that he's an absolutely first team nailed on, he has to start every game. So there you've got already 11 players alongside the bench options where you're already naming issues. You're naming problems straight away with every single player. Every single player. And the majority of them is quality issue. It's a quality issue. It's not an issue of, oh, he's out of form. It's a quality issue. Fundamentally, they have not got the quality to play at the club. They don't have the consistency. They don't have the mentality to play at the club. They don't have any of this stuff. So when we're talking about our results, yesterday against Spurs, I mean, I don't know, it's a North London derby, but I mean, the way that we played, you integrate some more quality players into that team, you could get a result there. But Spurs, people will say to me, "Oh, Mourinho gave us the ball." No, that is a lie. That is not true. Mourinho didn't give us the ball. We were actually pressing really well yesterday. We would win the ball back. We got into so many dangerous positions, but the lack of quality. What can you do when you have that lack of quality? When they scored their goal, it was Bellerin. He needed to had a simple pass over to Aubameyang. Fluffed his lines once again. And then they go up the other end and score. So many positions, Bellerin would get into the right wing, get into the box, tried cutting it back to Lacazette. An inch away from Lacazette, he has an open goal to himself. Crossing by Tierney. Aubameyang has a free header, headers it over the bar. Times where Lacazette would get the ball, give it over to Aubameyang. He'd be one-on-one with Alderweireld. And then no effort whatsoever. Just try shifting it over to his left foot, shooting. The most basic and predictable movement that he could do. Yeah. Tackled. So this idea that we had the ball and that Mourinho was just giving us the ball, it's not true. We got into loads of dangerous positions, but the players' quality is what lets us down. And we restricted Tottenham to nothing. Zero. Nothing at all. But it's a quality issue. What can you do when you have players like Xhaka? I saw yesterday he had like 120 passes, and I think like 10 of them were forward. 10 of them were forward. How can you look to create anything with that? People will come out afterwards and say, Arteta's always talking about crossing. Arteta's this. Arteta's always talking about getting the ball into the box and who do we have in the box to header the ball and blah, blah, blah. It's not always about crossing it for a Giroud style cross, you know. Sometimes it could be a cutback in the box. Sometimes it could be Tierney whipping it in front post. It doesn't always have to be lobbed into the box header, you know. There's other style of crossing. Completely accept what Arteta is trying to do there. Because can we play through the middle? Do we have the players to play through the middle? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I might be wrong. But do we have the players to play through the middle? We don't. That's why when we hear news articles and Arteta himself talking about what he wants in this squad and everything we always hear, a 6 and 8 and a 10, a 6 and 8 and a 10, is because we have nothing through the middle. especially with Partey injured, we have absolutely nothing through the middle. We have okay players out wide. Willian, okay. Pepe, okay. Saka, okay, cool. So get it out wide. That's the only options that you have. Tierney, okay, he can cross a ball in. Bellerin's got a bit of pace, he can get into good positions. Okay, cool. So what do you expect him to do? What do you expect Arteta to do? Do you want him to transform Tierney into a centre mid? Do you want him to transform, I don't know, Saka into a centre mid right now? It's not possible. It's not possible. Saka is a very good player, but at the moment, Saka's final third execution is not good enough. That's why he's out on the left wing. So when we're talking about kind of, Arteta and his tactics and crossing the ball and who's he crossing it to and blah, blah, blah. Yesterday we created a few chances through crossing the ball, you know. You have a good enough striker. You have a striker that's actually on his job and a striker that's interested. He's getting a goal. You have a right back that can actually cross a ball. He's getting an assist. So this idea that our game plan yesterday was wrong, it's not true. We don't have the quality for it. Yeah, we don't have the quality for it. And who's surprised here that we have the quality? The FA Cup run completely blinded us. We don't have a good enough squad. That's the way it is. When Arteta says himself, for the first 11, I need to change 5-6 players to play the system that I want to play. That means our squad is not good enough. Because to think our bench is not good enough, our bench is terrible, but then 5 or 6 players in our starting 11 isn't good enough. So the bench players are so bad, they can't even take over from these first 11 players. Sometimes you have squads that kind of like your centre mid is not performing, your centre back's not performing, your right winger's not performing, whatever it may be. You have cool players on the bench you can bring on next 5 games. They can do a job while the other player, you get them back into form. Rah, 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 rah. We don't have any of that. We don't have any of that. So when we're talking about Arteta's game plans and stuff like that, he has to go by the quality of his squad. And the quality that this squad has right now is being able to get balls into the box. They don't have that ability to play the ball through the middle, incisive passing and opening teams up through crazy through balls and blah blah. We don't have that at the moment. So how do you expect him to force it if he doesn't have that if we don't have that profile of player? It's just really annoying because my issue is that these players, these senior players always somehow wriggle themselves out of any blame straight away on the manager. I'm not saying Arteta's done an amazing, incredible job. I'm not saying that. The guy's learning on the job. We knew he was going to be learning on the job, by the way, when we appointed him. We knew he was going to be learning on the job. Yeah? But cool, he's learning on the job. But these players always wriggle themselves out of any blame. When we talk about, for example, Lacazette wasn't the main issue yesterday. But has Lacazette's performances this season, have they been good enough? Why is Lacazette or Xhaka or Bellerin or Holding, why are these players getting off scot-free? Why does the blame have to go onto the manager? Yeah, the manager, okay, cool. The manager, he picks the players and you can't sack all the players, you can sack the manager. But actually, in the situation that Arsenal are in right now, all the players need to be not sacked, but they need to be slowly shown the door. And the manager has to remain. Because best believe any new manager that comes in is getting the exact same stuff from these players. 1, 2, 3, 4 good months, and then it goes downhill. Because these players don't have that mentality. They don't have that consistency. I don't like Emery, but one thing he said that was true. That these players, certain players in the squad, are one day yes, one day no. One day yes, one day no. And in football, in top level football at this level, you need to be everyday yes. And okay, you might have the odd no day, whatever it may be. Yeah. But these players are too kind of like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Players like Xhaka, Ceballos, Even for me, El Neni gives 100%, 100%. But his performances aren't good enough all the time. He got absolutely done in against, for example, Aston Villa. Holding, 2 yes, no, yes, no. David Luiz, too old. Bellerin, 2 yes, no, yes, no. I mean, Bellerin pisses me off because Bellerin says, oh, Arteta gives us all the tools and all the information for us to be able to win a game. Okay, so if he gives you all of the tools and all of the information, so you're obviously just not good enough. Because you're not being able to execute that information and all them tools. So you're obviously just not good enough then. When will these players take accountability? When? Okay, you get rid of Arteta and then you bring on who? You bring in who? What? Poch? Poch will get sacked. Poch will get sacked in a year's time. If you give Pochettino this squad, he'll be sacked in a year's time. If you give Klopp this squad of players, he'll be sacked in a year's time. There is no player, there is no manager that this squad will not throw under the bus. And look, this squad, the current Arsenal squad, for me, is the most unlikable team I've ever watched for Arsenal. The most unlikable. Characters there that are only there for money. Characters there that don't play for the badge. Characters there that don't have the mentality. For me, like when you look at the best player in our squad, I would say it's probably in terms of pure talent, it's probably Ozil. Probably Ozil, yeah? But Ozil typifies the squad. Ozil has reached a point in his career where he's not interested in playing football. He just wants that money. He's not interested in kind of like putting in that work. Doesn't have that desire, the heart, the passion for the club. Obviously, Ozil has the best media team and his PR is off the charts. No problem with that. But his mentality isn't there to be doing it week in, week out. His performances aren't there to be doing it week in, week out. Whatever, I'm not going to go into too much detail about Ozil, but what I mean by that is, as a senior player in the squad, he typifies the seniority in the squad. Ozil, Xhaka, Kolasinac, Lacazette, who else? Holding, Bellerin. There are so many players there. Willian, all of them there that you would say, you guys, you lot aren't playing for the club. You lot are not playing for the club. You lot are there picking up a check, going home and enjoying your life. Xhaka, when the other day against when we played Leeds and that Alioski guy, and he's just sitting there after the game, huggy. Blah, blah, blah. I understand players go and speak to friends after the game, but understand context. Understand a bit of context in the situation. Arsenal aren't doing very well right now. You're hugging the player that got your most creative player sent off. So not just was he not able to affect that game, he's also not able to affect the next 3 games after that. And at the same time, you're pushing away the player that is like out of anger and passion for the club. He's trying to show that on the pitch. No problem. You want to hug your friend? Go and hug him. Just hug him backstage. Hug him in the tunnel or whatever, where the cameras are not there. You have to hug him on the pitch, in the middle of the pitch. The player that kind of ruined our chances of winning that game. But it just typifies the Arsenal mentality, isn't it? And it typifies the Arsenal mentality. And that's where I wanted to link it to where I think Arteta is going wrong right now. Arteta needs to realise, and he needs to realise quickly, because ultimately, I don't want him to be sacked, but it's a results business. And don't get me wrong, if Arteta is sacked, it will be an absolute travesty. Not because I don't love Arteta. He's not anything, he's not my dad, or he's not my brother, or he's not my son. But it's just an example of another manager that's been thrown under the bus by these players, when it should be these players that should be thrown out of the window. What Arteta needs to do going forward, in my opinion, and I don't know if you guys agree, I would love to hear what you guys think, but what Arteta needs to do is he needs to realise that these senior players, will let him down. Arsenal, and what Lampard did when he came in, Lampard clocked, these senior players, a lot of them are throwing managers under the bus, they're not good enough, they're getting old, they don't really care anymore. Let me go and play all the youngsters. And that's what Arteta needs to do. Arteta needs to start playing the youngsters. Arteta needs to bring in players like Maitland-Niles, Nelson. These players need to start playing week in, week out, in my opinion. Because they're not going to be worse than Xhaka and Willian. Cedric, for me, I would start Cedric ahead of Bellerin. Cedric, in the games that he's played, has looked relatively decent. And at the same time, Cedric is you can tell, Cedric is a real professional. Cedric wants to play football. Cedric is a proper professional. Bellerin's out here doing all of these model shoots and all of this kind of stuff. Bellerin has a history of kind of like bad blood with the fans and stuff like that. You can feel that, like, even if Bellerin's heart was in the job, he is not playing well enough. He is not good enough. He is just not good enough. Whether that's because of the injuries that he's had or whatever it may be, I'm not interested. The fact is that Bellerin isn't good enough. Bring in Cedric. It can't get any worse than it is right now. It can't be. These players, the minimum that you'll get is 100% effort. So that's what I'm hoping, I'm praying that Arteta can just like move away from these senior players, slowly just get them out of the door. In January, look to invest, and in the summer, go big. That's the only way that Arteta will be able to get out of this situation that he's in right now. If he keeps on relying on these players like Xhaka and Holding and Bellerin and Willian, I'm sorry, it'll be game over for him. It's a results game. It's a results game business, and that's what kind of like dictates your future. Even though for me, these players need to be shot out of the club before any manager right now. Arteta might or might not be the guy. I'm not interested in that. But what I do know is that these players will do the same thing to any manager. Any manager that comes in, these players will do the same to. And is that sustainable? Is that sustainable? A new manager will come in tomorrow. Okay, everyone gets a new slate. Wipe the slate clean. Xhaka, you're starting with new slate. All of this kind of nonsense. And then you delay the process another 6 months, a year. And then in a year's time, you'll be in the exact same situation again. Sack the manager, bring in a new manager. Wipe the slate clean. No, there's no more wiping slate clean. These players need to go. Simple as that. And that's the only way that you'll get out of the situation that you're in. That is the only way that you'll get out of the situation that you're in. But yeah, man, it's just the game yesterday against Spurs, in terms of performance, I don't think it was horrendous. But the personnel are just not good enough. Ultimately, they are just not good enough, and that's just where it starts and that's where it ends. You think about kind of like the recruitment that we've had over the years, and the amount of deadwood that is in the club. It's crazy. It's actually mental how much deadwood we've got in this club. At the end of this season, like a lot of these deadwood players will be leaving. I just hope that the manager survives until then. Because if a couple of these deadwood players leave, and you've still got another couple of deadwood players that I'm pretty sure that Arteta will be looking to sell at the end of this season, you're going to get a new manager that comes in who wants to give everyone a fresh start, and then you delay the process by another year. We can't afford that. These players need to go, and it's as simple as that. And for me, the Cronkies need to wake up and smell the coffee. Because at the moment, it's 2,000 fans being let in into the stadium. When it starts getting to 50, 60,000 fans like normal, the energy around the club will be toxic. You're talking Emery style all over again. You can't afford that. Because that will determine who stays and who goes. You can't sack all the managers. But you can't sack all the players, but you can sack the manager. And that's what the type of energy will be coming through these fans when we start returning to the stadiums. So he has to support the manager in January. Give him a couple of creative players. Let him start being able to get results. And then in the summer, you can go big, no problem. But this manager needs backing. He needs the money to spend in January, and he needs the structure around him. At the moment, Arteta doesn't have the structure around him. Edu is relatively new to his job. Okay, he's had a few years in Corinthians, and he's had a few years in Brazil or whatnot. But he hasn't had that real experience that it needs to be that to have that much authority and that much power in Arsenal. He shouldn't. That's why Arteta got promoted, because Edu is not good enough. And that's why we need the director of football. We need Vinay. Okay, cool. He's very experienced in his finances and whatnot, but he needs someone experienced in transfers, in contracts, in all of that kind of stuff, to negotiating, all of that kind of thing, to come in and take that over from Edu, and potentially even Arteta. Okay, Arteta can identify it and whatnot. That's not a problem. But when we're talking about actually going out and negotiating, I don't think we have that structure in place. So that's a big problem. It's a big problem. That's why Arsenal need to get this guy in as soon as possible. Whoever it is, I'm not interested in who it is, but get someone with experience to come in and do that. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things wrong. But for me, the thing starts and finishes with the players. The manager can always improve. The manager can always improve. But we haven't seen what the manager can do with real good players. We only know that this manager with terrible players has won a trophy. More than what Pochettino has done, by the way, over 5-6 years. So yeah, for me, these players need to go. You need to bring in new players, fresh, young players that actually have the hunger and the drive to play for the club, and start acting like a big club again. Instead of Xhaka always controlling what's going on within the club. Holding, Bellerin, Willian, Lacazette. These players are not good enough. They're not good enough. And the sooner we accept that as fans, the quicker it will be to be able to get behind the manager. Because a lot of people will say, "Oh, yeah, but what do we have worse players than Brighton, or do we have worse players than, I don't know, Crystal Palace or whatever?" It's not about that. It's not about that. We might not have worse players, but these players are not putting in the effort. They don't have the determination. They don't have the mentality. A lot of these players for Crystal Palace and whatnot, they have, at least they know their limits. But one thing that they don't lack is putting in 100% every week. We lack that. We lack players that put in 100% every week. And the style of club we are, you have to play expansive football, and then we end up playing expansive football, and the midfield isn't good enough, and we end up conceding goals and losing games. So we just have to, we just have to see and understand the context of what our players are in right now, and how long this has been going on for, and accept that it's not always the manager's fault. It's not always the manager's fault. And this is one of them situations. Arteta, if he's sacked, will go on to be a very good coach somewhere else. It'll be our loss. We'll be stuck with Xhaka and Kolasinac and El Neni and Bellerin and Lacazette and these guys. Willian and whatnot. So let's give the process a bit of time. Get these shitty players out of this club. Yeah? And then we go again. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think. That's my opinion on these players on this club at the moment, what we're going through. Man, I don't know where our next win is coming from, but hopefully Burnley next week. Hopefully a win there might elevate some confidence. Personally, I think that the game we had on the weekend was not too bad of a performance. We were outdone by moments. But yeah, hopefully we can take some confidence from that game, and we go again anyway on Thursday night. Hopefully we win that game, and then the big one on the weekend. It's a must win game. But you never know with these players, to be honest. But yeah, thanks guys. Peace.